Hi, it's Anne-Marie from Charmed Life Therapy again, back with another update on the Justin Baldoni legal drama that involves Blake Lively and the deadly conspiracy theory that we're all a party to, according to the latest filings. And I just wanted to talk about that a little bit because in one of these recent filings, it does cite this Guardian article. This is Etienne who's come back with me from Mansfield. But yeah, let's talk a little bit about this, because one of the things that it says in the article, or that it alleges, is this idea that post the Amber Heard Johnny Depp trial, it came out sometime later that a lot of the social media buzz behind it was coming out of some kind of troll farm in the Middle East. I don't know the truth of that or not, but this article, is kind of alleging that there's a hefty amount of inorganic content regarding the Justin Baldoni trial. And I guess that's intimating that it's stemming from his people, I guess, his team, this conspiracy theory team. I think they mentioned something like 80% of it could be inorganic. And yeah, I think it's an interesting thing to talk about in this case, because I think this case is very different from the Amber Heard Johnny Depp case. I mean, I don't mind Johnny Depp, but it's not like he was a perfect person, is it? And I think he would hold his hand up to that himself. Nobody is a perfect person. But Johnny Depp, they were in a weird, codependent, abusive relationship. They were abusing each other in different ways. Johnny was alcoholic and taking whatever, and she was doing her own thing, wasn't she? This situation is really quite different because, I think most of us don't feel like the Baldoni side of things is that muddy. I mean, for me, I think like most people, he needed to hire a crisis PR expert. That had to be done. And why wouldn't Melissa Nathan hire somebody that she's previously worked with, such as Jed Wallace? But right now they're trying to turn that, they're using this idea of him having worked with her previously as kind of a method of establishing that this is a long-running conspiracy, that they've worked in tandem in this way before to destroy people. And this is why she needs all of Jed Wallace's client base details from January 1st, 2023 up to the present day. And as kind of people are pointing out in this lawsuit, generally when somebody files a lawsuit, you're talking about bringing a suit against somebody from that limited period of time where it was happening, and you're talking about what has happened in the past. That is what you want a resolution on. But Blake Lively is consistently changing the terms of this lawsuit, and now she's kind of making it present day and ongoing and reacting to it in these multiple filings as if all of this is still going on. And it's like I said the other day, who in the right mind would be continuing to run a smear campaign when they're being sued for that self-same thing, and that everybody's supposedly looking for the way to prove that? So Blake Lively wants to keep Jed Wallace in this lawsuit. He's filed this motion to dismiss himself out of her case because he was never there basically when anything was supposedly happening. And she's using kind of fairly loose arguments, which New York law might or might not support, that just because he was resident in Texas or whatever, if he had grounds to believe that Melissa Nathan lived in New York, worked in New York, that she spoke to her sister who worked for a New York-based paper, she's using all of that to try and hold him into this New York litigation, and they're all fighting that. But it's interesting, isn't it? This idea of were we all influenced or weren't we? And I can only talk for myself, but I think I'm communicating with enough of you on my comments threads to indicate that many of you are doing very similar things. I know for myself that I looked at that footage of the It Ends With Us promo tour and I found it very strange. I found it very strange how much Ryan Reynolds, and this is without reading stuff. I'm just saying my own instinct was it was very odd that she wasn't pictured with the director. It was very odd how much Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman were all over it. It was very odd, the things that she was saying, like, such as that, oh, do you want my location share? If somebody wants to talk to me about TV, what am I supposed to give them in terms of information? Those kinds of interviews. And there was more than one. And the whole strangeness of grab your friends, wear your florals, and the hair care and the alcohol and the rest of it. There was a lot of things that just felt disingenuous, weren't there? And it just didn't sit well. And I was just logging all of this for myself, and then the Kirsty video resurfaced, didn't it? And then suddenly, like all of the other interviews, because people went, oh yeah, I remember when I had that weird interaction with her too, and those videos popped up. But I know for myself that I am not looking at anything. I'm not on Twitter. I am not doing that much on Facebook at the moment. I'm mostly looking at YouTube at the moment, and the people I'm looking at are people like Popcorn Planet, if you like, Without a Crystal Ball, The Tilted Lawyer. I've watched a bit of Ask Two Lawyers. I'm looking at people who are showing their faces on camera for the most part. I know some people don't, I guess, like confidentiality and things, or they don't want it to interfere with the work, but for the most part, and Candy Sowens, I watch Candy Sowens, but all of these things I watch it with a view to making up my own mind about it, and I watch the people that I believe are factual, that are looking at the legal documents and analysing them. They're not real, obviously we're all, gossiping about it, I guess, but I believe we're keeping it pretty factual. I am not looking at things that look obviously fake. I don't go and watch YouTube videos where the thumbnail looks obviously AI generated, or they've taken somebody's face and created pictures that don't exist in reality. I don't look at those videos. I'm not interested in what those videos have to say. I'm interested in real people making real content, discussing the real issues. And I think that's why some of you are watching me, because we're talking about it in a well-rounded sense of what can we learn from all this, and what can we understand going forward, and what does it tell us about narcissism and what we should watch out for. So I don't truly believe, I'm not saying some isn't happening, but how much of it is actually stemming from Justin Baldoni, do you think? Or how much of it is just other people fostering their own narrative for their own uses? I can only speak for myself, but I know that I am not, I'm not looking at Reddit, you know what I mean? I very rarely look at Reddit, you know what I mean? When I present this content to you, it's what I've seen from other people on YouTube, and it's what I've read for myself in the law documents, and sometimes I'll ask ChatGPT to explain them and what's going on, just to help me get the gist of it, because I don't really want to go into it that intensively and get lost in it. I just like it for what can we learn about life and about human beings and where we need to improve, if you like. But yeah, what we're still seeing here is that Blake has an awful lot of complaints about what has been produced by the Lively parties and the number of documents that have been produced when she compares to what she alleges to have produced. And obviously we don't know the truth about all of this, but what I would say about all of this is that if you're acting truthfully and your actions have been minimal in terms of the things that you've been doing or generating, you won't have as many documents to produce. and I find it interesting that she's saying, I don't have all of this stuff that I know has been, that you have in terms of messages that I know exist because of the Van Zandt subpoena, so you should be providing me those, which is an argument that, she, on their side of things, they told Wayfair we shouldn't have to produce these things that Jennifer Abel wants because you should already have them. We've already given them to you. But you know what I mean? It's that same old thing that keeps happening of, it's one rule for me and it's another rule for you, and you lot will all do what I say because I'm still trying to figure out what case I have. And I found there was another thing, wasn't there, the other day, that apparently the film footage has been provided to Blake Lively. And I think Wilkie Farr Gallagher must be getting a little bit tired at this point, because they mentioned this 50,000, a terabyte worth of a drive that has been provided in terms of film footage. So without looking at that or analysing it, they've said, in a quite blasé way, that somebody tells us that means there's 50,000 hours of film footage to watch, which when you break it down in terms of days and weeks, that's an awful lot of days and weeks. And it's probably like a Kevin Costner trilogy movie rather than just it ends with us, so they're not thinking about that 1 terabyte drive. I mean, it's because of the quality of the film content that's on there, so it's quite data heavy, I guess. So they're kind of complaining still even about what they have been provided. And the reason they need all of this, the reason they need all of Jed Wallace's client records for 2 years? Over 2 years, when he didn't come on board till, into August 2024, when it was all going down. The reason she needs all that, the reason she needs everything that Candace Owens has got in terms of tips and what have you from the general public, which we'll never get from Candace Owens, and the reason she needs to subpoena Andy Signor. As far as I know, she still hasn't officially subpoenaed Perez Hilton. I keep checking Perez's page to see if he's updated it to say he's been subpoenaed, but that doesn't seem to have happened yet, so that's kind of interesting. I could be wrong about that, but I haven't seen it myself if so. But the reason she has to do all of this is, of course, because she has no case. The reason she needs all the film footage and to watch it all and to study it all and all of the other things that she's asking for is because she's not telling the truth. If she had a case, if it was genuine, if she'd been SH'd, if she truly knew, if she truly had evidence of retaliation and defamation and all of the rest of it, she'd know the truth for herself. She'd know exactly what she needed. But instead she needs more, and she needs more, and she needs more, because she's constructing a case as she goes. I think everybody is pretty much on board, really, at this point. I mean, I kind of look at people now like Omar on The Tilted Lawyer, and various others, and I feel like they're getting a little bit tired of it all. Because it's like, come on, this is just so stupid. You're reaching so much, your arguments are so flimsy. You want everything now, you want everything on your terms. They want this deadline extension now of, to the end of September, the extension of fact discovery. And it's because they're still putting together a case, they're still creating a narrative, they're still trying to come up with a story that explains what Blake Lively wants to sue Justin Baldoni for, And I just don't think they're going to find it. And at this point, the things they're accusing Melissa Nathan and Tag of are just ridiculous, because crisis PR is a thing. It's a necessary thing in that industry. So what are you suing her for having done her job? This is the way that system works. It's the system Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds take part in themselves. But again, it's this thing of, I don't like it when it's done to me. I can do it to you. You can't do it to me. But in this case, we're not even really convinced that it has been done to her from what we can tell. I'm not saying they haven't done anything. I don't know. I don't know the truth of it. But I honestly feel like there was very little that they had to do. I didn't go looking for stuff. I wasn't jumping on every article that came up, every troll, every comment. I wasn't looking at every profile and following extra people and the rest of it. And I wasn't picking and choosing in terms of what I wanted to believe. At the start, I was very open-minded about it all. For some reason, I kind of early days thought, I don't think it's him. I just had that instinct. And it's not that I disliked Blake Lively. I didn't really have strong feelings about Blake Lively. I kind of always liked pictures of her, the way she looked, kind of liked some of the fashion, kind of the Met Gala looks and things like that. But I didn't have a feeling about her one way or another. I thought she was rather okay as an actress, but nothing more than that. I didn't think she was great shakes. I've said before, I wasn't overly keen on Ryan. I've never liked that humour, and that humour that has a mean streak to it. It's just not my thing. But I wasn't going looking for a problem, is what I'm trying to say. And I do think that the majority of the people who are talking about this case and who are supporting Justin Baldoni did not go looking to hate on Blake Lively. Blake Lively was the one that brought the hate. You know, she just in her own actions. And it's like we've said time and again now, this is what she can't handle. That's the one thing that she is unwilling to believe. She'd rather believe in a carefully coordinated conspiracy theory. This is what she's calling it now. This is what she's presenting as a legal argument, that this was a highly coordinated conspiracy theory, entirely targeted to bring her down. That's what she thinks, because it's easier to believe in that than it is to believe in the fact that people didn't like some of the actions that she took, and they didn't like that she had no accountability, that she couldn't just say, you know, and that she couldn't just say, look, I'm sorry I handled the marketing of the movie really badly. I kind of wasn't comfortable with the subject matter because I didn't have enough experience of it to talk to survivors directly or whatever it was. All she needed to do was apologise, just like all she needed to do about the Kirsty interview was apologise. And she could have even made something up to say she was having a big bad day with the pregnancy hormones or whatever at that time. She could have made something up, which is seeming to be very good at. She'd wanted to do that. But really, all of this hurt, all of this pain, it's like we keep saying to her, that's all it keeps boiling down to, that she just has zero accountability. So she'd rather believe in a highly elaborate scheme. And it's and also, like I said before, at this point, I think, you know, if this is the worst that Jed Wallace, etc. have done, I don't actually see anything wrong with it, because all they've done, to my mind, is highlight her own actions. So, and I just feel it was organic. I don't know about you, you might have different thoughts about it, but it doesn't feel inorganic to me. It certainly didn't feel inorganic to me as I kind of made those first couple of videos and thought it was all going to go away, and then it just kept getting worse and worse and worse and worse. You know, so I just don't buy it. I just don't buy that there was this massive conspiracy theory. It's like, you know, she bangs on about Steve Sarowitz being there at the premiere and saying, you know, he was going to ruin her and all of this. And that was when this targeted conspiracy theory really came to life and things like that. But it's all just a story. As human beings, we're always saying stuff, aren't we? You know, I'm going to mess you up, I'm going to ruin your life, I'm going to take you down, you know, I'll get you back, whatever it is. How many times do people actually do it, really? You know what I mean? And the ball was already well rolling on all of the anti-Blake rhetoric by the time that premiere was happening. You know, stuff was already coming out, wasn't it? So we're waiting to see whether Jed Wallace will successfully get himself dismissed from Blake Lively's lawsuit, and we're also waiting to see if she can get out of his lawsuit against her by the jurisdiction arguments that she's going for. It's amazing, isn't it? She's arguing to keep him in New York and he's arguing to keep her in Texas. It's like the whole thing is kind of crazy, isn't it? You know what I mean? It's all so crazy and so needless. And I think when you look around at the content creators now, I think all of us are a little bit tired of it all because we're just sick of the parameters constantly changing with it all. And I kind of, I get these emails from Court Reporter or whatever it is that I'm signed up to, and when I check in every day and see they're all from Blake Lively's side. They're far outweighing in terms of the letters and the motions and the rest of it. There's far more from Blake's side than there is anything else, which is probably partly why she's having to provide so much more information in terms of deposition. And the fact that she will be bombarding them with extra information because she has to create a snowstorm to hide that there's, nothing there in terms of a case that she's got. I don't really think there's a problem with Wayfarer, Jen Abel, Jed Wallace producing 90, 100, whatever. I know Wayfarers is a lot higher, the number of documents they've produced, but I don't think it's because they've got anything to hide. I think it's because genuinely there's not really that much there, and that's what she can't believe. Because she won't be satisfied until she finds something wrong, because she's desperately looking for something wrong in any kind of terms that can have happened like a year, 2 years before any of this negative press came out about her. She's trying to construct something. That's basically what it is. She's reaching all of the time. And, some of the things she's holding out for, she's probably hoping for some of these motions to dismiss to come out before she actually has to produce some of these things. I see like her deposition, what Friedman now wants to have her sit for deposition something like July 17th, but that's not a given yet at this point, because I think she wants to get as much information as she can, because she's going to need to create a story before she goes into that deposition. She needs to be well prepared. So she needs as much of their information as possible. And I guess maybe they're playing they're kind of playing it carefully, that they don't want to give her too much before that deposition, because they want the truth of it. They want to catch her in some holes, because we know that people that lie consistently can't remember the chain of evidence, the chain of lies, can they really? So yeah, it's just more holding out to see what happens, and more holding out to see which way this judge swings and whether he's going to be fair about it and the rest of it. Yeah, so we'll just have to see, won't we? But it's the whole subpoenaing Candace Owens and Andy Signor, and then potentially not subpoenaing Perez Hilton, who is actually a client of Brian Friedman. That's all a bit like, well, what on earth does she hope to gain from that? That she can somehow prove that Jed Wallace had something to do with those people, that there was some weird connection somewhere or another. Good luck with that, Blake, because I just don't think you're going to get it. But what you are doing is targeting Andy Signor, who, I'm pretty sure Candace Owens can handle a lawsuit, but I'm not, Andy Signor's kind of not on that kind of level, is he? But we shall see. Anyway, you tell me your thoughts about it all right now, and whether you feel that you were the victim of an inorganic campaign against Blake Lively. Do you, with the knowledge you have right now, have you ever stopped to pause and think, how did I get invested in all of this thing? Who was I watching? What was I looking at? Was it fair? Was I just willing to believe Justin just because I wanted to just believe Justin, because I've never liked Blake Lively, and I tried a shampoo and it didn't work for me, and then it's ruined my hair for life. What is your thinking about it? Do you think you've been succumbed to an inorganic, secret, untraceable smear campaign, or do you think you just got emotionally invested in this story, this unusual story that's happened? What are your thoughts on it? Please do drop me a comment and consider liking and subscribing, and hitting the bell and selecting all notifications just so you don't miss a video. I would love to hear from you, and I will see you later.